So, FreeJam recently made a worrying announcement for some people. For others, they're going to be ecstatic about it, but I think there's a few reasons why you shouldn't be ecstatic about it. One of them is that one of the changes that FreeJam are planning to do in their rebuild of the entire game, they're scrapping the entire game, rebuilding it from scratch. One of the changes they want to do while doing that is to make the cube, health, and damage systems basically the same as it was in Robocraft during 2015. A lot of people, I know, you're excited about that, but hold your horses, because you're replacing something which is so much better than you could have known. So much better. I mean, if FreeJam didn't give a reason why they're doing this, it's pretty obvious that the reason is because people review bombed this game and said over and over again, this isn't Robocraft 2015, I hate it, etc. They're just chasing whoever seems to be the biggest demographic, which will fail because I mean, you can appeal to people in 2015, but that's not a modern day audience. It's not a modern day gaming demographic. I mean, people who like who play other games are not going to see the fact that you can do this and go, oh, this is so much better than Robocraft 2. I'm so glad that they did this. I understand the thing that's happening here. Look, okay? There's two main arguments behind why it's better for 2015 Robocraft's building to be used instead of this. There's two main arguments. One, it's not Robocraft from 2015 and I hate it. Fair enough. My counter argument to that would be that you are playing a game that works differently from 2015 Robocraft. You don't go into a fast food burger place and you don't generally ask for, I don't know, a well done steak, like a fine dining well done steak with wine. And this is my fine dine steak with wine. So I mean, there's that aspect to it. The other argument would be that this is actually easier for people to understand, placing things one by one. My counter argument to that would be that none of this is intuitive. None of what you're seeing right now is intuitive. I am currently controlling a character which is not on the screen to build another character, which another character even still is going to pilot. And then also I can get out of that character to be the smaller character again. It's none of this game is intuitive. Even if you go to back to Robocraft 1 and you say, okay, well that was a more intuitive experience. Maybe more intuitive in that there's less involved, but you're still a character being controlled by the player to create another character, and then again you're controlling that character in the third person. Video games are not intuitive, and the thing is that a lot of the concepts that go behind placing blocks individually like this are simply not simple to understand. Placing the blocks, that's fine and intuitive. It takes a really long time to do this when I could just do that, but okay, fine. Placing things very tediously, one by one, is kind of more intuitive. kind of. But then there's another whole thing about this, which is that when you're making a game, you can sometimes choose to do something new. The risk with doing something new is that people won't always understand it the moment that you show it to them, because video games aren't intuitive. If you change the formula a little bit, which is completely reasonable to do, this happens all the time, then you will result in a situation where people have to relearn things a little bit. So it should not be a surprise to FreeJam that when you do that, people will struggle to understand it, and that FreeJam will have to put in the effort to make sure that these new players do understand this. They do understand these new mechanics, which they have not done in the slightest. I would argue they even don't seem to care. I would argue they don't even seem to understand their own system. There's a lot of good reasons why I think that. What is velocity? Why is penetration energy in kilojoules? Why is penetration resistance in kilojoules per meter? What is a meter? Well, apparently it's 5 blocks, which doesn't conform to the grid! Where are the damage testing turrets for the other weapons? Why can't I shoot a railgun at my Robocraft? Why can't I shoot arcs at my Robocraft? Why can't I shoot my QMG at my Robocraft? What is connection strength override? Well, apparently it's the same as connection strength. How much is a unit in unit mass? Why can't I change the size of my block after I placed it? Why do I have to delete it? I can place this like this? Nobody told me that! Seriously, if the community is just converting kilojoules and kilojoules per meter into blocks, then why do I have to calculate how many of this a laser can get through? So that you understand what we're missing, and why this is, why I'm so against this, why I think that, I mean, you'll see the title, it'll be something like, what Robocraft 2 is losing, or Robocraft 2 is losing out, or something like that. I feel very strongly about this. I'll explain to you what this system is, and why I think that it's such a shame that we're losing this. Because some people don't understand it, and FreeJam don't know how to develop a video game. So, the first things first, blocks don't have health. So if I stretch this out, this alone doesn't have health. It's the connection between two blocks that has health. So if I stretch out another thing here, this connection that is connecting these two parts is what has health. The health of the connection is determined by the perimeter of the connection. So if I stretch out another thing, so this is a 1:9 connection, like this. If I put one block on here, that is simply a 1:1 connection. So the health is proportional to the actual perimeter, not the area. That's important. I'm not going to explain much further than that, but you don't need to know all of the maths. You just need to know that connections have health and that it scales with perimeter. So again, this would be a 3:9 perimeter. So 9 plus 9 plus 3 plus 3, because trace the edge, turn off mirror mode so it's not distracting. Trace the edge, that's 9 by 3, so 9 plus 3 plus 9 plus 3. It's pretty simple, I hope. If a connection loses all of its health, it simply disconnects all of the blocks that it was attaching. The other aspect to the system is that weapons penetrate blocks. So if you get hit right on the face of here, so right here, by lasers, probably what's going to happen is that the laser will travel through and then hit the block behind it as well. When blocks take damage, or when they get hit, I should say, because they don't have health, the damage is distributed to each connection that it has. And it's not divided, it's just sent to all connections. The reason for that is so that you can't do damage routing. You can't, for example, do a absolutely insane amount of connections on this, so that this back here takes less damage. You can't do that. It's not exploitable, basically. And fancy that, having a game mechanic that's not exploitable in Robocraft. I know, it's incredible. So, weapons, they do penetrate. So, and they also penetrate depending on the angle. So, like it, for example, it's very understandable if you get hit right here, it's going to follow a path exactly the same as the angle that it hit you from. So like that. So if you get hit here, like straight down the middle from the top, this block's connections will not take more damage. So we have those two simple concepts. Connections have health, penetration. So why is this so good? Well, it means that instead of all of your building being about how you redirect damage to places, which is a very abstract concept, and I full-heartedly believe that most, like a wider gaming audience, does not understand the concept of damage leaping between blocks. That's ridiculous. It's not realistic, it's not intuitive, that is not how things work. People will not understand the concept. I mean, like, if you're into video games at all, the concept of health points, that makes sense. But if for this to have a health point, and then you get hit about here, and then the damage goes like this, around corners as well, so if there's blocks back here, these will get hit. From this, remember, this getting hit, that does not make sense. It's tricky to understand the concept of connections having health. I understand that, but it's actually a pretty low hurdle compared to damage routing. Now, the next thing, the reason why this is so good, besides just no damage routing, is that actually means that your armor is more interesting than just place blocks in ways so that the damage gets dispersed weirdly. If, for example, you have a weapon that deals high penetration, so it will go straight through a lot of blocks, you can make your armor specifically to avoid that being a problem. For example, if a weapon penetrates 3 blocks of Moderonium, which is the middleweight armor, you can build like this. And suddenly, you don't have to worry about getting penetrated, because all of these blocks will use all of their volume efficiently to avoid multiple getting hit at the same time. If a weapon does very little penetration, let's say 1, it penetrates 1 block of Moderonium, then you can do something like this. So you actually have different kinds of armor depending on the weapon that you're being attacked by. So if you want to have a meta build, which is trying to deal with as many threats as possible, you actually want to combine these different types of armors, and you'll probably want the higher penetration armors to be on the outside because that's more volume, and you don't want things with more volume on the outside because then you're using more CPU on things on the low penetration armor on the outside. Basically, like if I have a box of these, it costs a lot more CPU for me to surround these with this armor on all sides than it does to just put the high CPU armor on the inside. Like so. So you end up combining armor types, and because there's materials as well, there's a lightweight material, a medium weight material, and a heavy material, and each of these are affected by penetration depending on their density, or in other words, weight. You actually end up with a lot of interesting ways that you can build. You can, instead of having the the 3 blocks of moderainium, you can have 3 latium plates. And the downside to doing that is that latium is way heavier than it does you good for armoring. And the lightweight material, called arium, is way not good for armoring than it is for how light it is. So you actually have interesting decisions here. Do I want to be heavier and deal with things hitting me in a more compact way so that I have a lower profile, or do I want to be larger and possibly lighter weight? There's a lot of interesting and difficult choices here, and you don't get that when all you have to do is place individual blocks to avoid damage from hitting you in weird ways around corners because there's damage redirection. You don't have to worry about that anymore. I understand some people like damage redirection. That's cool, but we had a different thing, and it was just as good, if not better. And that's really what I want people to understand. This system was really good, and it's going to be gone, because some people who came here looking for a different game for some reason, I guess because it's called Robocraft 2, and so they're expecting their specific version of Robocraft 2 to be what Robocraft 2 is. But the thing is that Robocraft 1 was so many different games that I really don't think it matters that this one did things differently. And I really would have preferred if FreeJam would have been able to stick to the one thing, even if it's a bit different again, and prove that they can actually finish a game, then break everybody's trust by trying to rebuild it again, so that even the people who liked Robocraft in 2015 and are excited about this rebuild can't trust them. That is so unbelievably terrible that even the people who this rebuild is meant for cannot trust FreeJam and shouldn't trust FreeJam. I think that's horrible. But anyway, that was me trying to explain why this system is good. There's a lot of other reasons why this system is good. I could go on and on. But this is already reaching 20 minutes. I don't want it to be incredibly long because then I won't reach people. So I think that's going to have to be it. But that's all I wanted to say. This system was good. FreeJam are ditching it. You can probably expect more videos from me in the future talking about this. Like what FreeJam is currently doing, why it's bad, why even if you think you like it, you probably actually won't like it. So look forward to that, or be distraught and not look forward to it, I guess. I mean, I don't care at this point. Have a good day.